Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, they say there's no threat, but unions will do what unions do best if they're not satisfied. Hear from the Trade Union Congress on several outstanding issues. Also tonight, could a new year bring new rules for junk canoe? And the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce gives its forecasts for 2012. Those stories and more straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news this evening, they're not saying what they will do, but don't expect inaction from affiliates of the Trade Union Congress. Today, members met to declare their disapproval that several industrial matters remain unresolved and to put the government on notice that they're growing impatient. Janaea Noel Ferguson reports.
This is the worst period for workers ever.
And with that, the president of Congress of Trade Unions, Obie Ferguson, said that the Minister of Labor's failure to sign a strike certificate for the customs union, failure to recognize a union for sandals workers, and failure to address the concerns of air traffic controllers has these three unions up in arms. And if the minister does not bring some resolution,
trade unions would do what trade unions do best.
Ferguson, who represents the three unions, says that although negotiations are ongoing, he hopes that they are able to reach an agreement soon. At last report, Ferguson said that Labor Minister Dion Folks did request a meeting with the Customs Union for January 10th, but this was not agreed by the participating parties, making it unconstitutional, and the union leaders are of the view that the government is not acting in good faith.
His office knows what the issues are, have known from that time. And we, in this union, will not partner with the government to break the law.
While we have some complaints from the flying community, we are apologetic for those inconvenience caused, but those inconveniences were not due to the air traffic controllers in particular, but also to the powers that be, not turning sufficient attention to these issues in a more timely manner.
We're calling on the minister just to try and make these matters as smoothly as possible, man. This is no need for this. This is just ridiculous. We have this minister in place who's to handle these issues, and it's not being done. That means what? He's ineffective? It means we need to get rid of this minister.
Now, whatever decision these unions make, it will be a collective one, whether to withdraw their services or not. They're sure to let the Minister of Labor know that they are at the end of their rope. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Well, the unions also addressed what they consider to be the loss of a holiday over the Christmas weekend. Christmas Day fell on a Sunday and Boxing Day on Monday, and there was no weekday observance of the Christmas holiday. Ferguson says more public workers should be concerned about losing their entitlement.
As workers, the holiday is on the 25th. Why wouldn't we have 2 days? I mean, that's nonsense. You're working on a public holiday, and you get straight pay. And not one Bahamian worker say a word. But if you work for me and I charge you $10, you make all kind of noise, right? Now you figure out the number of workers who work on that public holiday. Yep. You figure out the amount of money.
Thank you. That's
but
right.
They ain't saying that. So they give you Monday off and they tell you must report.
The government is about to inject just over $1 million into improving the tourism product. It's proposed that an upgrade at Festival Place on the Prince George Wharf will bring with it a new Junkanoo Theater, an interactive Bahamian experience for guests, and employment for Bahamians. Carla Palmer has details.
Festival Place at the Prince George Wharf remains a beehive of activity, with millions of tourists and locals taking in the authentic Bahamian handicraft on a daily basis since it opened more than a decade ago. Initially, the space was earmarked for a Junkanoo Museum or Expo. Now, a decision by the government has been made. Culture Minister Charles Maynard tells ZNS News.
We decided that the best use of the space really would be to have a showplace or a theater where somebody can see a Bahamian review and then view Junkanoo pieces and so on. So it wouldn't just be a passive museum atmosphere, but rather an active site where people can go and see the history of music as it developed in our country and so on, and then culminate with a Junkanoo rush out that carries people through a museum where pieces and so on are displayed.
According to Minister Maynard, the decision was made in conjunction with those who would be impacted most, the Junkanoo community, local artists, and musicians.
We spent a significant amount of time in cooperation with a private production group headed by Ronald Sims and Fred Ferguson to produce a show, to be able to design an area to create that into a real showplace. And so we have the final designs complete. We have the costing done, and our only hindrance has been that the roof of Festival Place had to be replaced. It has some issues and it has to be replaced, and we have assurance from the Ministry of Works that that is going to be done early in January, and the work, so long as that work begins, then we'll be able to start to do the renovations inside of the area to make the theater and to design the museum.
Once those internal renovations are completed, here's what you can expect.
It's expected to be a daily show with 2 or 3 shows daily. We've already got agreement in principle from the cruise ship operators that they will sell the show on board and so on. So we expect this to be a huge injection for the cultural community.
$1.5 million is the overall estimated cost to create the theater, with hundreds of thousands of dollars more to be expended in full-time employment of residents.
This is going to be a revolution for the cultural community in many ways.
Minister Maynard says the government's ultimate objective for Festival Place is to have a top-class production that's able to compete with similar tourist attractions around the world. Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Well, low voter turnout is how the editor of the Sunday Gleaner in Jamaica described the election process in Jamaica today. The elections were contested mainly between 2 major political parties, the governing Jamaica Labour Party, led by 39-year-old Andrew Holness, and the Portia Simpson Miller-led opposition People's National Party. Simpson Miller also served 1 term as Prime Minister. The major change since the last election is the number of seats increased from 60 to 63. Today we spoke to news editor Colin Steer on today's events.
Well, so far the returns and the information that we have been getting from the electoral office indicates that by Jamaican standards the voter turnout has been particularly low. Many constituencies are reporting, certainly up to mid-afternoon, less than 40% of the eligible voters having cast their votes. But some constituencies have reported just over 50%, 52, 53%. But that is by mid-afternoon. It's possible that by 5 o'clock our time, when the polls actually closed, then the parties would have picked up a few more votes.
Now, some 1.64 million Jamaicans were expected to cast ballots today before the polls closed at 5 p.m. local time. According to Mr. Steer, despite some minor hitches, all in all, the voting process was free and fair.
Contrary to the experiences which we have had over the past few years of past election cycles, certainly there were skirmishes. You had reports of confrontation, verbal confrontations between the supporters of the 2 main parties. Some were questioning the presence of candidates in a particular polling station when they were not expected to be there. There were complaints about people turning up at the polling stations with paraphernalia or certainly an election vehicle, a vehicle that had been decorated in the colors of the particular party, and that was felt, to be an irritating move, an aggressive move on the part of the offenders. But beyond that, the main complaints have been a rather slow process in some areas.
If the world had a collective Christmas wish, it would likely relate to stabilizing a shaky economy. As we prepare for 2012, many are hoping that our financial status will begin to improve, with the country having recently experienced 2 downgrades. Chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Winston Roll, said while many business persons have suffered over the last few years, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. He also offered some advice for businesses that have managed to remain in operation during these economically challenging times.
The past few years have been a major challenges. As you would have known, there are a number of businesses that would have gone out of operation, and we're still not over the hurdles yet. What I've been advocating for during this time is that persons need to take this time and not be disheartened, because this too shall pass, as they say. But this is a time to really pay more attention to your business, to really understand every intricate part of your business so that you can know where your deficiencies are and where you need to improve on, and start to put some of these things in place so that when we do turn the curve and things start to pick up, you have a lot of systems and opportunities in place where you can really maximize those opportunities as opposed to just trying to catch up.
Now, Roll predicts that 2012 will be a better year, but he warns persons not to expect that things will change drastically.
I don't see where we're going to have a significant increase in our economy, but we have seen some signs of things starting to look a little brighter.